Well, the iconic Tweede Nuwe Jaar minstrel parade has returned to Cape Town. The event has not been able to take place for 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Minstrel competitions are expected to take place throughout January. SABC News senior reporter Vanessa Poonah is there for us this afternoon. Vanessa, a very good afternoon to you. One imagines, of course, that there would be very high turnout this year, given the fact that for 2 years people haven't been able to attend this event. So much excitement, I would imagine.
Excitement indeed. Good afternoon to you. And I spoke to the Deputy Mayor a short while ago, Eddie Andrews. He actually participated in the march with the D6 Hanover Minstrels, and he was saying that this event is even more special because of the fact that the minstrels could not take to the streets of Cape Town as tradition has it on the 2nd of January each year for the past 2 years, and that of course due to that COVID-19 pandemic. We've spoken to some of the minstrels themselves, and they too were telling us that it's been a rough 2 years for many of the troops. This year 28 troops are taking to the streets. The first 4 of them have just gone by, and I'm joined now by a very special minstrel. His name is Mr. Ishmael Davids. He's with the Baruch Entertainers, and he's been doing this for some 60 years. Mr. Davids, good afternoon to you. You were telling me 60 years in this business. It's a lifetime. What does it mean to you to be back on the streets today?
Oh, it's so lovely. It's very nice. It's like I feel young again. It's like, oh, it's amazing. I've been looking forward to this day.
You were telling me that every year you say this will be the last year. Why can't it be the last year for you?
I don't know, it's like sort of getting into you. You hear these people, the bands, the practice, and it sort of gets into you to go again,
You were telling me just now that not only is it this one day of the year, but also throughout the year where young people from various communities across the Cape Flats, they are taught with musical instruments. There are people, they keep them off the streets, and it gives them a vision for the future. Explain to us how the minstrels help, communities to ensure safer communities.
Yeah, it's actually giving them something else to do besides being naughty and doing bad things. It's giving them something to do on Sundays and Mondays and Tuesdays, putting their power or their energy into playing music and etc. etc. So basically at the end of the day, it's giving them something to do besides being naughty.
I understand that your troop has some 1,200 members. Are you looking to win the competition come February?
Yeah, we are very competitive. There's no doubt about it. We actually are very competitive and hoping to win every year. But that is actually our ultimate. But at the end of the day, we don't. But as long as we enjoy ourselves.
Mr. Davids, thank you so much for speaking to me. Of course, Ishmael Davids there from the Baruch Entertainers, talking to us about the importance of the minstrels, not just for the entertainment value, but also what it does for communities, for young people. And of course, today, thousands of the spectators have lined the streets of Cape Town, all the way from Hanover Street behind me, all the way down Darling Street into Adley, Whale, and then all the way to Rose Street in the Boerkaap. And that's, of course, the traditional route. Also, a short while ago, you'll see to my right-hand side, and I'll ask my colleague Clinton if he can just show you. This behind me, of course, is the Golden Circle area. A short while ago, some people were complaining about the heat because you'll know it's extremely hot in Cape Town today. The temperatures are hovering at about 34 degrees, but the event organisers have told us that they've managed to get some covering for all these spectators here. And now that the first troops have taken to the streets, it's all smiles all around for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Vanessa, just before we wrap up the conversation, of course we know about the festival itself and surely the excitement around it, but I want to talk about the history of the festival. Is that still sort of acknowledged about where it comes from, why there was this need for this particular Tweede Jaar festival? Is that something that people that are coming into and starting to enjoy the festivities do understand where it comes from?
Yes, indeed, and especially for the minstrel troops themselves, they make it quite clear each and every year that not only is this a matter of entertaining crowds and entertaining people, but also it is a cultural heritage. You would know that the origins of the minstrel parade started in the times of slavery as well as colonialism in the Cape. And of course, the 2nd of January, the Tweede Nuwe Jaar, as it's called, was the only day that slaves were given off work because their masters would have been celebrating on the 1st. So of course, course, this is the long, rich history of the minstrel parade, and of course, it's developed into what it's become today, and it's now been called Africa's biggest or greatest cultural carnival and event. And of course, behind me, you'll see, if I can just step out of shot for just a second, the next stoop making their way. I can't quite see the name of the stoop, but you will see that they've got the umbrellas hoisted. They've got what they call the voorlopertjies. Those are, of course, the minstrels with the painted faces, with their hats, and they, of course, enthrall the crowds as they come marching along. You'll know that quite a number of the spectators in the crowds, they are friends and family, and also just community members who've waited, like I said, some 2 years now without the minstrels. And of course, today they are seeing all the bright colours, all the bright satins and the hats and the umbrellas back on the streets of Cape Town to enjoy not just the spectacle, but also to remember the roots of the minstrel carnival.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of preparation goes into this, Vanessa. I mean, it doesn't seem as though it's something that, you know, they wake up and they do. I mean, you can see everything is planned, everything is coordinated. There must be a lot of excitement and preparation, you know, preceding the festival itself.
Indeed, and I mean, for a few years in a row, we've been speaking to the seamstresses, for example, that make what they call the gear, the outfits. We've spoken to milliners who make their hats. We've spoken to everybody down the value chain, even to the vendors. Just now we were speaking to some of the food vendors, and they were telling us that this indeed is what they have to do, and months of preparation goes into making sure that this event takes place. They've had the 2-year break. They were itching to get back into it, and of course you've heard just now Mr. David's telling us that for months and months, young people, old people, they practice, the bands get together, and they make sure that come the 2nd of January, Tweede Nuwe Jaar, that they shine to the best of their ability as they're doing here today.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to move out the way. I see the one group is coming closer and closer, but we also just want to take a look at them as well. But we also understand that there's a competition, you know, and it's also, you know, it's quite competitive about costumes. I don't know what else they compete for, but maybe talk to us about the prizes and what happens.
Yes, indeed, they do compete. So after, traditionally after the Tweede Nuwe Jaar parade, which is this happening right now, you'll see that at weekends, every weekend at Athlone Stadium, the various troops will come together, and you're quite right. They compete based on their gear. They compete based on their quality of singing, of musical instruments, and that takes place, I think, I speak under correction, but I do think that the finale takes place in the first week of February or so, and of course that is I suppose the pinnacle for each and every one of these troops. Some of them as many as 1,500 members. They all will, not so much about the prize, but really the honours of being the top troop in Cape Town.
All right, Vanessa, we'll catch up with you at a later stage, but certainly those are the festivities taking place at the moment.